Hello everybody, I am back to do another video, and in this one I am going to be talking about a topic that I've never really talked about. I'm sure I've mentioned little things about it here and there. It's being basically it's something that's been being brought to me through a reel. Actually, it's a reel, and I'm going to talk about it. Now, whenever you go through reels, whether it's on any kind of social media platform, you will come across inspirational quotes, relationship help, relationship information, advice, how to have a good one, what to look out for, different things. And in this in this certain reel, the guy was basically talking about appreciating what you have and not appreciating what you have and not letting that person, like, I guess, not know how you feel about them, kind of thing. Like, it's very important to let the people that you love know that you know how you feel, but also to show it, to show how you feel towards them. And in this reel, I thought it was a very good reel. I thought the reel was very just really good, and I think I actually saved it on my favorite reels because it was so good, and I really resonated with it, and I understand it. They were saying that the right person doesn't always come around twice, three times. Like you said, like, it's very easy for you when you break up with someone to just say, "Oh, I'll find somebody else," or "There's plenty of fish in the sea," but you're never gonna find that particular fish again. It's people are all different, right? Everybody's different. Everybody's unique. Most people are, not everybody. I mean, some people are very fake and phony, right? But when you have someone who is genuine and authentic and real, you're probably not going to find that again. Okay, you're probably not going to find that same person again. And it's very easy to say there's plenty of fish in the sea. That's kind of diffusing the situation or making you feel like you didn't make a mistake. But in reality, you probably won't. And it's sad. But most people, especially when you're young, you don't think like that. I know for me, I didn't think like that. I know I definitely didn't think like that when I was in my 20s and early 30s at all. At all. I think about it now a little bit more because I have the wisdom behind me and I have the experience behind me and I have the mistakes behind me. But it takes years to get to that point. It's a sad part of life is that usually by the time you have all this knowledge and all the experience, you're kind of over the hill type thing. So you have all this knowledge, but you don't know what to do with it, right? So it kind of sucks. So yes, I think it's very important. And in the reel, the guy was saying that the right person may never come around. That person was a unique person. This person was a one of a kind, and you're not going to find that person again. And you will look for them. This is something that I found this quote years and years ago. It goes to the effect of, "You will look for me, or you will search for me. You will search for me in everyone you meet, but I promise you're never going to find me." And that's a really telling thing, especially when it comes to an ex-narcissist, because narcissists think that they can just keep having the same relationship over and over and over, right? Like, the relationship that mine had with me was just repeated with the next person, and then the next person, and the next person. It's just like they just keep on bringing in new people, right? They just keep on bringing in new sources, new supply sources, replacements, so to speak. But like, my ex-narcissist will never get that certain thing that I provided for him. He's never going to get that again from these other people. He'll get other people, of course, but he's never going to get that certain thing that I brought. And I am the same. I will never get that certain thing that he brought to me, because it was a certain time. It was a certain time of life. the mid 2000s when everything was, life was still good during those years. I mean, I don't know, life wasn't good, but we didn't have all the problems that we have today. We didn't have all these problems back then. There were still problems, of course, but not like it is now. I mean, nothing like that in the mid 2000s. So, of course, it goes both ways. It's not just that he's never going to find anybody as great as me, because he's not. And I think that he knows that deep down. I think that he knows that he'll never find anybody like me again. But it goes my way too. Like, I will never find anybody like him again either. Now, that also includes his narcissism. It does. The silent treatments, the ignoring, the insults, just all the ways that we were together. Just, the way that we used to, I don't know, the way we engaged with each other. So it goes both ways. But it's not just a one-sided thing. And sometimes relationships are just not meant to be. And when you're young, I feel it's easier because when you're younger, you don't have the needs that you have maybe when you're older. Like when you're young, you're healthy, you're working, you have family members that are still alive. Like everything is different when you're young. But then when you get older, your needs change. The things that are important to you in a relationship change as well. And sometimes the person that you're with when you're younger, this is why people get divorced, because it's just that person doesn't either grow with you, mature with you, or support you in the way that you need to be supported. And oftentimes, that's a big chunk of what happens with people. Everybody's different. Everybody's goals are different. My narcissist was not the commitment type of guy where he could have a long-lasting relationship with someone like me, not like me, but not like somebody with me, because not that, as I said before, that I depend on a man, but it's nice to have the support of a husband, of a man. It's nice to have that. And there's nothing wrong with having traditional values where, maybe you work a little bit less than your husband, or your husband is the breadwinner and the husband pays most of the bills. And there's nothing wrong with having that mentality. I think that because women today are so masculine and women today are so like, they think that, oh, they can do it too. And like, look, if you want to do it, that's up to you. Okay. But if you can't, or if you're not the type of person that is a career-minded person, or you just don't have a career because you couldn't afford to go to college or whatever your issue was, I don't think that you should have to, be, put down for that, or insulted for that. And oftentimes narcissists will judge you based on things that they have no idea about. They have no idea anything about what you've done or what you've tried to do or what you couldn't do, because they don't care. They're just so fast to judge. And they, prejudge you as well. So, but no, I think that the reel was a really good reel. I actually saved it on my playlist because I thought it was such a good thing. And I feel it's very, very true. It's a two-sided thing. And you will search for me in everyone that you meet, but you're never gonna get quite that same feeling, or you're never gonna have that same maybe happy feeling that you had with that certain person. Or also, I talked about nostalgia a lot. The time of your life when you're in maybe your 20s or your mid 30s, or however old you were, you know what I mean, during a certain relationship, plays a lot to do with that relationship as well. It's a lot of things go into that. A lot of things go into it. But, yeah, you will search for me in everyone you meet, and I promise you will never find me. My narcissist will find lots of replacements. He'll find women, lots of women. He probably could. But as I said, he'll never find anybody like me. And that's kind of his loss. For many years, I've wanted to hear that from him. And people said, just forget about it. He's never going to admit that to you. And I know that he'll never admit the loss. He's never going to tell me that he lost. I know that he lost just based on, the things that, we've talked about. But, and it's not about looks. Everyone thinks it has to do with looks or whatever. I don't think so. I don't think it's really about looks at all. Narcissists are very shallow, yes, but they're not just shallow about looks. In fact, I think that narcissists don't really care about what somebody looks like. I think narcissists are more predisposed or are more like preoccupied with other things like money or career status and things like that, job status, things like that, more so than looks. I've seen some, and I actually know quite a few woman narcissists who are married to men who are not attractive at all, but they do make the check or they do make a good living. And a lot of women also go after that, especially woman narcissists. So with a guy narcissist, it's not really about the looks. It's more about the supply they're getting. It's more about, can I boss them around? Are they going to do what I want? Are they easy? Are they, do I have to go out and, wine and dine them? Or are they someone who I can just get very easy? You know what I mean? That's more of what a narcissist is about, as far as a guy goes. But narcissists also like people who they could manipulate and lie to and betray. And they're going to get away with it. You're not going to come up to them and constantly put them on the spot about it. They like people who are not going to pose a problem or a challenge to them. They don't want to be challenged. They just want you to do, they want you to do what they want. You're going to do what they say. So that's what they're really about. But I think when I was younger, though, I was more about the looks, even for myself, because when I was younger, I was like, well, he'll never find somebody as cute as me again, ever in his life. And, I'm a very petite girl. I know, like, my videos don't really show my full figure, but, I'm 5'2", I'm in my early 50s, I weigh 120 something pounds, 120, low 120s, and like 123, 124. And I'm 5'2", I'm in my early 50s. Now, my whole life, all throughout my 20s and 30s, I was 105. I was 105 pounds. I was very little when I was younger. I was a size 3. Literally a size 3. But I also used to smoke cigarettes in those days. And, I smoke about half a pack to a pack a day. And the most I weighed was like 107, 108 pounds. When I quit smoking, I put on at least 10 pounds just by quitting smoking. In fact, I think it was a little bit more than 10 pounds. I think it was like 15 pounds. And of course, when you get older, you do weigh a little bit more. Yeah, it has something to do with your diet. It just goes by, I guess your metabolism slows down a little bit. So I went from like 108 to like 120 something, but still 120 something. I'm 5'2" in my early 50s, so that's really good. But most women in their 50s, they weigh like 160 pounds, like 170 pounds. Like some of these women are huge. Like they are. Like, especially when you get to be 50s. So I'm lucky that I've been able to maintain my youth, my petite frame, to be thin. Not thin. I'm not really thin. I'm proportioned. I'm curvy. I would say curvy. But I'm thin. I'm not a fat person. I'm not an overweight person. I'm not chubby. I still buy clothes in the junior section of the store. I can't fit in women's clothes. They're too big for me. So I've been able to maintain that. I'm very happy for that. But no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, and I don't think the narcissist really cares about that. If it had to go on that alone, then there would have never been any problems between me and my ex-narcissist at all if it had to do with looks. It's not about looks. It's about, as far as the narcissist goes, as I said, once you stop being that challenge, once the narcissist knows they have you, and you're kind of not going anywhere. This is why it's kind of hard to have kids with these people, because like once you have kids with them, and you're married to them, they treat you even worse because they kind of know they have you and you're not going to really go anywhere because you depend on them for your child. And, so this is another thing that's not good to do with narcissists. But I don't know. I just, I really like the real. I want to talk about it a little bit. But yes, it's true. They will search for you. and everyone that they meet, and they'll never find you. It's very, very true. It's a very true quote. And they're going to compare everybody to you. They're going to, they're never going to get that certain thing that you brought to that particular relationship. They'll find others, they will find replacements, but they'll never find that particular thing that makes you you, that makes me who I am, and whatever made that relationship what it was, you know? It does go both ways. It's not a one-sided thing. My narcissist at one time was very good as well. I talk about the positives and the negatives, guys. I hate to just talk about the bad. It's very gloomy. I know most people do talk about the bad when it comes to a narcissist, because that's all really there is. But there had to be good things about them as well, or else he would never have been with them. And that's why I always tell people that, yes, they are all those negative things. They are bad people. But they did pretend to, and they do have good traits, just like mine did. No, he's not the kind of guy that I need to be in a relationship with. He's not boyfriend material for me. For me. For somebody else, then he might suffice for them. But for me, I couldn't do it. It was a failure. But it doesn't mean that he was like a bad person altogether. Yes, I mean, he's a narcissist. Is he a bad person? To me, he ain't the greatest person in the world. But when it comes to narcissism, for me, I look at it more as in a relationship. As far as, are narcissists bad people on a general plane? I don't think that my ex-narcissist is strictly like an angry or a hateful person. No, I don't think he's really that kind of person. But his traits with relationships is what gets him. It's everything that he could have made very, very easy, that, it didn't have to go that way. And that's the thing that, for me, is that the relationship didn't have to go south the way it did if he had just been honest from the start with me. And the problem is that they're not. The problem is that they don't communicate, and they don't fix problems. They cannot resolve issues. And that is a complete and utter failure for any kind of, romantic relationship, because you have to be able to fix problems and talk about them and come to terms with, how are we going to fix this? What are you going to do to fix this? What am I going to do to fix that? And you have to talk about stuff like that. Because narcissists cannot do that, your problems just get worse and worse, and they snowball into like huge problems. It goes from like a small problem to a huge problem, and then there's no going back. The problem is when it gets to cheating. When the issues get to that point where you feel like your narcissist is cheating on you, that's when it gets really bad, because they're never going to tell you the truth about that. They're never going to come clean about their cheating. And if you're someone who is kind of into like giving, second chances, third chances, you're going to believe their BS and their sorries, and you can't do that. You cannot do that. The narcissist will never fully admit to cheating on you anyway, unless you catch them red-handed. That's the only way they're going to really admit it. So that's it, But yeah, the narcissist will look for you, and they're going to search for you and everyone that they meet. They're never going to find you, and he'll never find me again. And that's their punishment. Their loss is having to go through their life looking for these other people that they're never going to have again, and they're never going to have you again. And that is their punishment. That is their downfall. They're going to find other people, but they're never going to have that particular thing. And that makes me happy. That makes me smile, because he doesn't have to ever tell me that I was like great, or that I was good, or that, that I was the best relationship he ever had. He doesn't have to ever tell me that, because all he tries to do is well, the last time we were in touch, he tried to make it seem like I wasn't And I know that he did that on purpose because he knows that I know that I am. I've told him this many times, right to, not to his face, but through emails and stuff. I've told him that. And he knows it. And I know that he knows it. And that's enough for me. That's enough. I don't need anything else. Um, you can look and you can search for closure. You can do all that. You can look for for them to tell you that they're sorry, regret. But the narcissist is never going to admit that to you. They're never going to even come clean or even talk a little bit about stuff like that. Because to them, that's weakness. And they are not able to show weakness or vulnerability. So I don't know. That's how I feel, guys. That's, the way I feel. I'm not a conceited person. I've never been a conceited person. I'm very down to earth. Um, Very down to earth, like super down to earth. I laugh at myself all the time. I am not a super serious person. Like, I'm someone who, is not serious. I am very easygoing. I'm very easy to talk to. Of course, I have my opinions, but I think everybody does, right? Everybody has opinions. But as a partner, as a girlfriend, as like that, like I'm very easy, and I think my narcissist knows this. I'm not just talking, I said, talking about look, talking about my body. I'm a small girl. I am a small girl. I'm a very petite girl. And he's never going to find anybody as small as me again, ever. I know that. And, thin and in shape like me. But it isn't just that. It's not just what you look like on the outside. It's more of the fact that, like, you might have really loved them. And I think that with my narcissist, I think he knows that too. I think he knows how bad he messed up. I think that he is fully aware that, you know, he's never ever gonna find like someone like me again. And the fact that, you're gonna miss, yeah, then the narcissist will miss you. They're not gonna tell you that they miss you. They're not gonna ever gonna say it or show it or do anything to show you that they miss you, but they will miss you. As time goes on, they get with these, other replacements, these lower quality people. They're going to remember your relationship. They're going to remember what you brought to them. If you love them, they're going to remember that. And that's going to make them sad. It will. It will. The narcissist knows what they lost. They just try to bury it. They try to hide it. But they're never going, like I said, they're never going to talk about it to you. It's very difficult for them to really open up like that. But they know. Trust me, they know that they messed up. And a lot of their emotional, like I said, narcissists don't heal. So they don't get so when they break up with someone, they don't take like a year off to just heal from that relationship. They don't do that. They immediately get with somebody else because they need their supply. They need that hole in them to be filled. They have to fill up that hole as quickly as they can. So that's why they get with people within a couple months, a couple weeks. They immediately have a replacement for you because they can't stand that hole, that emptiness that they have. So that's why they never get over anybody. The narcissist is still dealing with issues from 20 years ago because they've never gotten over anybody. They don't give themselves time to really heal. And that's a big problem because what happens is, the narcissist is going to take out things on you from their last relationship. You're like, that's not I'm not like them. I'm nothing like them, but they're still blaming you for things that happen with other people. And that's not fair. But the narcissist does this because they never deal with the breakups that they have. So, yeah, guys, it's a big thing, That's why I always say that when you break up with a narcissist, it's a journey dealing with the backlash of that, dealing with the closure, dealing with moving on with other people, dealing with what happened in that relationship. It's all a journey. It ain't just something that you get over within a month or two. It takes time to understand the dynamics, of why things happened the way they did. So, yeah. Anyway, that is it for this video. I want to just talk about that reel. If you want to see the reel, it's on my playlist in Reels. It's basically a guy just talking about relationships and the fact that you don't always get a second chance, and that person may only come around one time in your life, and you don't get second chances, and you're not going to meet anybody again like them. I just wanted to talk about that. I am going to be doing a few more shopping videos, maybe this weekend, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I have a few more things to bring out, and so that's it. Keep an eye out for the videos. I'm like I said, they're just videos that I film right here with my camera, my cell phone camera. They're nothing state of the art, but I don't know. I just do it as a hobby. It's something to kind of do. It's nothing fancy or anything like that. I do it because it's fun. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Have a good weekend. And I wonder if anyone is like, well, we're getting down to the wire with the Halloween stuff. Yeah, Tubi. Check out Tubi if you're looking for Halloween movies. There are tons of good movies on Tubi right now. All kinds of good movies. Uncut. The whole movie, swearing and all the good gory parts are in there. It's not cut up like for cable. All the good parts are in it. So check out Tubi. As I said, they have great movies on there. So that's it, guys.